Good night and welcome to the Galen Hour. It's always a pleasure to be here with you on Wednesday nights. The Galen Hour is a production of Galen University. It focuses on academic excellence, sustainable development, and lifelong learning. This season, we're highlighting our Soaring Galen Eagles. Tonight, our episode is called Lady Eagles in Leadership Roles. And we have joining us tonight two of our Lady Eagles who you'll get to meet. We have Claudette Elters in studios. Welcome, Claudette.
Thank you.
It's happy to have you. And we have Rashawn Reynolds Bowman joining us virtually. Welcome, Rashawn.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you on tonight. I am Diana Gomez Perifit, and it's a pleasure for me to host the Galen Hour. We'll take a very short break, and we'll be right back with our show. Stay tuned.
Welcome to a world of endless possibilities where academic excellence meets the beauty of nature. Join us at Galen University in beautiful Belize, where we always excel.
Galen University, more than just a place to study.
Yes, so good night again. We're here with the Galen Hour tonight. We have Miss Claudette Elters in studios. Claudette is Administrative Director of Mejias United. Claudette is a Galen Eagle who graduated from Galen with a Master's in Business Administration.
Yes.
And she's one of our Lady Eagles who is soaring high and in a leadership role. Miss Rashawn Reynolds Bowman is also a Galen Eagle. She graduated with a certificate in education leadership from Galen University, and she's the acting principal of Palote High School. Welcome, Rashawn. So it really is good to have our Eagles on tonight. We're talking about leadership, and we know that this is still an area where women are underrepresented globally. I was looking at some statistics, and globally it's about 28% of the leaders in the world are women. So we're still fairly underrepresented. So it's good for us to hear from women who are in leadership roles, of some of the choices they made, what are some of the possible obstacles, successes, what are some of their advice that they would have for other young women or other women who are aspiring for leaders or who are in leadership roles. So we'll get right into our questions tonight, and I want to start by asking Claudette, since you're in studio, if you could tell us a little bit about what inspired you to pursue your current leadership role.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for having me here. What inspired me to want to do better and develop my leadership role is that I wanted to see our business grow. And in order to grow, you have to be versatile, be flexible, and be willing to take risk. And so I thought that the best way I can do that, to arm myself, is to educate myself. So for that reason, I went back to school and obtained my master's degree in business administration from Galen.
Yes, and so you work with your family business, right, Claudette?
Yes, it is a family-owned business, and I am the administrative director. So along with my siblings, we manage Mejias United, which is a construction company in Belize City.
Very good. Thank you for that. And it's good to hear from an individual like you who comes from a private business that's family owned, kind of also encouraging those who are also in private businesses that education is important as well. So if you take on leadership, and likely you will if you stay within a growing family business, but that education that complements the experience and what you know of the family business is important.
Definitely, it is.
Great. So we'll get the chance to talk a little bit more about that. Rashawn, can we hear from you a little bit more about what inspired you in your current leadership role? We're very proud of you. We're happy to know that the Galen Eagle has assumed the role of the first lay principal of Palote High School. You want to tell us a little bit about what inspired you to pursue this role?
Sure. Good night, everyone. Definitely, I started out as a teacher. From the tender age of 5, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And having gained experience as a teacher, you get to work firsthand with the students in your classroom, and you get to speak to them and you realize all the ideas that they have, the things that they would change, and also the creative nature that they have in them. And I realized that these things could only be changed from the administrative role. And that's what has inspired me to become a leader, my students, so that I could then make these changes that they wish to see, because they do have very important input, and they do have a broader perspective or a scope, and they see things that we ourselves may not see in our own educational institutions. So I would definitely say being a homeroom teacher is the number one characteristic or role that inspired me to continue to pursue leadership at my institution.
Oh, wonderful. You work for a fully girls' high school. So you're a woman leader in a fully female institution. What is your leadership style, Rashan? Um,
Definitely. Well, I started off with as an HOD, and at that position, you would have more time for feedback, more time for collaboration. So I definitely started off, and I still use for the majority democratic leadership style, whereby I focus on collaboration, getting feedback from the people in my department. However, now assuming the role of acting principal of Palote, I would say it has become more situational leadership, whereby I would look at the situation and then determine which style I would need to employ. For example, there are certain decisions that need to be made now, urgently, and then that would call for maybe an autocratic leadership style, whereas sometimes there's a very pressing situation needing support, and then that would call maybe for a servant leadership style, whereby you would show empathy and support. So I would say a combination, and definitely situational, using discernment and discretion.
oh, wonderful. Claudette, same question to you. What is your leadership style?
Similar to what Roshan said, it's more democratic and consultative. For sure, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. So I believe that it's important to involve others in your management team, because good ideas come from your employees, from others in management. So for that reason, I like to consult. We have an open door policy at Mahias United. We try to make the atmosphere very friendly and comfortable, and include those that we employ in management position at meetings, to get their opinions, to get their input, because like I said, sometimes the best ideas come from others on your team. So that is pretty much the style that we have. Of course, there are policies and procedures that we stand by and that we try to enforce. However, we're also flexible and open to suggestions. So I would like to say that it's more on a consultative and collaborative basis.
Yeah, so both of you have similar styles. I wonder if this is because we're female, You're and we have more of a nurturing, more listening to our children, to our siblings, maybe a more caring approach to managing.
I will never forget at my undergrad, one of my professors mentioned, he said, whenever you lead, lead with compassion. And I always remember that. And yes, as women, I think we do lead with compassion and consideration. And it's not a bad thing. Yes, sometimes we have to be assertive, but perhaps maybe because we are females, we are just by nature more considerate.
more considerate and are probably able to empathize. I know there, oftentimes when we talk about leadership and communication and the styles that we choose to resolve conflict and to lead, we look at our personalities, and there are certain dominant personalities that we may be, may describe who we are. Do you see your personality coming through in your leadership style, you think? Are you, I think some of the big five traits are conscientiousness, agreeableness, extroversion. I mean, it all plays a role in the workplace. I'm sounding like a teacher here, right? But I'm just thinking. I often think when I do talk about communication that it is so important to understand your own personality, because I think sometimes it comes through in your style of communication, certainly your style of leadership. Rashan, would you like to talk about maybe what do you believe to be the most important quality for a leader today? And
Okay,
what?
sure. I believe several qualities are important, and you definitely started to talk about one of the most important one, which is communication. And it is affected by your own personal attributes, right? And when it comes to communication, there will be situations whereby you would have to communicate something that is maybe a touchy topic, and it's the way that you choose to bring it across, the tone that you use, even when you would have to correct or continue with policies, instill policies, dealing with discipline. It will have to be the way you speak, your tone, and your delivery that makes all the difference in the end. I also believe that discernment is very important. The ability to make good judgment, looking at everything in front of you, and to ensure that the decision that you make is ethical. And at the end of the day, that it was the best decision that could have been made in that situation. As well as leaders make decisions, so many decisions per day. So problem solving and decision making is a major and important characteristic that leaders should have. Resilience too, the ability to persevere despite whether you're having personal or even professional trials and tribulations. As a leader, you can't say, oh, today I'm not feeling like up for this. You have to push through and be resilient and be able to lead, because you have to always remember that there are other people who are looking up to you in terms of leadership. Your employees, they would follow you. They would, yes, they would listen to what you say, but they also look at your example. And of course, in this 21st century, being technologically literate is important. You have to keep up with the technology, using it for good, despite what's happening out there in the world, using it as a tool to carry your institution forward. And last but not least, prayer and spirituality for me definitely is important, because we cannot do it alone. And we would definitely need that strength. And for me, it comes through prayer, spirituality, and my relationship with God.
Wonderful. Yeah. Claudette, how about for you? Is there any particular quality that you find that you would recommend and you believe is most important in leadership today?
Yes, I think Roshan mentioned several, and I do believe that communication is key. And part of communication is listening. And so a lot of times as leaders, we believe that at the end of the day, we need to make the decision. But part of making a wise decision or making the best decision involves listening. And I think that positive reinforcement also helps. Like what Rashan said, sometimes it's difficult decisions you have to make, and you just have to trust that you are making the best decisions. Sometimes we do fail, but that's a part of being a leader, and just accepting that, you know what, at times we're not always right, but we try to make the best decisions. So I think she mentioned a lot of them, but definitely communication is key.
Communication is key. Yep, and like I like to say to the students that I would work with and lecture that it's a work in progress. So we can always improve our communication, and none of us were born knowing how to communicate. And over time, with experience and exposure, learning, education, we learn how to become better communicators. So that is just a message to anybody who feels like, I'm just not a good enough communicator yet. Well, there's still room. There's still room to learn and to grow. Did anybody influence your leadership style? Was there anybody you looked up to and said that whenever I take over Mejia's United, this is the kind of leader I want to be?
Well, definitely for me, my dad is that person. He started out our construction company as a sole proprietor, but it was always his vision and his intention for his children to take over the business and become owners. And he would always tell us it's better to work hard, but work hard for yourself. And so he instilled good work ethics. From an early age, we all had to work in the family business. And there were certain policies that he would constantly remind us. And one of them was, you have to save for the rainy days. So I would definitely say that he's the first person, the most important, and the major person that influenced me becoming a manager, an administrative manager at Mejia's United.
Lovely, your daddy. Yes. Rashan, would you have somebody in your life or from experience or somebody you've worked with who's influenced your leadership journey and style?
Definitely. Similar to Claudette, I would definitely start with my parents. I believe in the home, those are the first leaders that you see. And my mom would always, advise me, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world, because we all would have the answers and we'll say, why don't it happen this way? But then it has to start with us. And also my father too, my late father, he was a leader in his own sense. He was one of the youngest leaders in his career field. And I believe just leading by his example, his work ethic, his responsibility, the way he would carry himself, communication, and also work-life balance too, also inspired me. And outside of my home, I also had great teachers. They may not have led a school, but within a classroom, they were the leaders in that classroom, where they would have to monitor and safeguard about. Back in the days, it would be 35 students to a classroom without the use of technology back then, and they would have us engage and also be able to communicate well with the parents as well. So those people definitely contributed to my leadership journey.
Oh, yes. So our parents, I'm sure they're proud to hear how they've influenced your leadership styles and just who you are today. Sometimes I think as parents, we wonder, are we doing the right thing? And in an instance like tonight, if your parents could hear, if your dad could hear you, your dads could hear you, I'm sure they would be proud. But your moms can, right?
Yeah.
Hear you. So as women, we wear many hats. I'm sure you're not just the administrative director at Mejia's United, and you're not just the principal at Palotti. What strategies do you use to maintain to maintain a work-life balance and to balance all the roles that you're playing? Like, excuse me,
Yeah.
my mic fell in my. Go ahead.
Well, if I could go first, I think that part of my work-life balance involves planning. We all have families, we all have a job, but it's important to take time off to do the things that we enjoy, to relax a little bit, and to have a little bit of social time. So for me, that is important. And Rashan was mentioning your well-being, your overall well-being. And so I make sure that I find time to do the things that I enjoy, exercise, socializing, and just spending good family time. So that is important because if we focus mainly on work, when you come home, you need to leave that behind. If not, you find that your evening or your day might become as stressful as it was when you're thinking about your day at work. So I think it's good to just find time to relax, to rest, and to enjoy your family and friends.
Beautiful. Yes, I mean, it really is a balancing act, but I like the things that you do. I mean, we have to find outlets, basically, you know. Life can become too much, and I find work, and you probably can attest to this, it can become overwhelming, and if you allow it, it would consume all of your time. So we do need to find the things that can help us to, and not forget that we're parents,
Yes, indeed.
spouse.
Yes. But like I said, it's just having boundaries and knowing that, there are certain times that you have to focus on work and there's time for your family as well and to do other things that you do enjoy outside of work. So setting those boundaries, I think, are important and just having a plan of action for what it is that you want to do because you can plan activities with your family on days or times that you're not at work. So just to create that balance of work and life and to have a good structure of well-being.
Well-being,
Yeah.
yes. Absolutely important. Rashawn, you had a high school with lots of young, energetic young women. How do you balance your work and life and weekends and, when maybe it's not so easy to turn off work because of the nature of your job?
Okay, definitely. I had the same ideas that Miss Claudette had. Planning and organization is key. And it's just some ways that you could do so. We have, desk calendars. I know some people prefer to write. We also have the calendars on our phone, the Google calendars, where literally I would walk around maybe with my little planner, my agenda, yearly planner, and I have everything in there. Before we plan, though, we need to identify the areas in our life that we would want to dedicate the time to, whether it is our spiritual upliftment, our personal life, our health, our work. So, first, we must identify the areas and then we plan. In terms of education, it's important the question you asked there in terms of the nature of an educator, even if it's a teacher, and even more so as a leader of an institution, boundaries are very important. I noticed some countries have even made laws to make it illegal to contact, employees or workers after a certain time or on the weekends. We're not there as yet in Belize. So we would have to set our own boundaries from what time to what time would we accept text messages, WhatsApp messages, calls. Also, you would direct the calls not so to your personal number, but to the office. That's very important because you will become overwhelmed. You have your personal number and then you're having work messages or WhatsApp messages up there. It may become overwhelming at that time. So just to set those boundaries in place and to follow them, because sometimes if we make an exception, then we will always have to be making exceptions. And don't get me wrong, we do have sometimes where we do have emergencies that require immediate action. But when we set our cutoff time, we have to be strong, we have to keep to it. And then remember that we must also take time for ourselves to refuel, re energize, because we cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you are there overwhelming yourself, you are doing an injustice to yourself as a leader and also to the people that you serve, because you will not be able to wholeheartedly serve them. And also, you may find yourself getting ill more often. So it's just about boundaries, planning, and prioritizing, consciously prioritizing the aspects and areas in our life that we would want to work on.
Wonderful. I hear setting boundaries, and it's absolutely important. But I also like what you said. If we overwhelm ourselves, we might not be able to serve others the way we need to, as well as ourselves. And I think that could be an advice to young leaders and people who are new to leadership, that it really is important to set boundaries and to carve out time for yourself and your family.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true.
Right, so we are at the halfway mark. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back with the Galen Hour. Stay tuned to hear more about the leadership styles and how our Lady Eagles are leading the institutions and organizations they work with. We'll be right back with the Galen Hour.
Galen University prides itself in doing everything possible to facilitate the success of our Galen Eagles. The flexible payment plans, student loan options, and Eagle scholarships make Galen affordable, accessible, and attractive. Treat yourself to the gift of a Galen education. Give us a call at 615-3129 or 614-6415 for more information. Come soar with the Galen Eagles.
Yes, so welcome back to the Galen Hour. We're talking with Claudette Elters and Rashawn Bowman. Tonight, two of our Galen Eagles who are talking about their experience as leaders. As you know, Rashawn is the acting principal of Palati High School, and Claudette is administrative director of Mejias United. Both of them are Lady Eagles. All right, so what accomplishment are you most proud of in your career so far?
Well, definitely, I am proud of achieving my master's degree, especially because I went back to school years after I graduated with my undergrad. So for me, this was always a dream. And finally, it came to fruition. And so I would say definitely that would be my biggest accomplishment. I also ventured on a second master's degree. It's not completed, but I am on the last part or last portion of that. So for me, achieving these educational successes, I would say, are my biggest accomplishment, in addition to being a wife, being a mother, and being an employer.
Beautiful. Congrats, Claudette. Absolutely. Your second master's is in?
It's in industrial relation and employment, which is a labor-related field.
Yes. Very good. Yep, I wish you have continued success. And you're doing a fantastic job, at least from the outside looking in.
Thank you.
Seem to be managing everything well. Rashawn, same question to you. What accomplishments are you most proud of in your career?
Okay, I'll start with being a first-time homeroom teacher. It is a very, very difficult year where we had students coming in. That transition from primary school to high school is very difficult on some students. And at the end, in June, I am very proud to see how students have matured and were able to be promoted despite all the little setbacks that they had experienced during their first year at high school. Even more so, those who are in education can agree with me that education is more than a job. It's a vocation, it's a calling, and we do it more so for the students that we have in our care. And when I see all my students and they are excelling out there, they have been studying to be nurses, some are already studying to be lawyers, some are even interested in engineering, architecture. I had a student years ago, my first very cohort, if I could call it, of students. She was studying to be a pilot in El Salvador. So just to hear how we have instilled that leadership in them too, and that motivation for them to want to go out and achieve their goals and be someone successful and productive in our society. And of course, assuming the role as the first lay principal of Palote High School, it was such an honor to assume this role after having the Palatine Missionary Sisters carry out this role for the past 50 something years. And I am honored and graceful for the opportunity to be the first day principal. And I believe that I will continue carrying on the mission and vision of St. Vincent Palote and lead the institution the way that they first envisioned it so many years ago when they came to Belize.
Wonderful. I see most of our um, schools that are run by either nuns or priests have given over the leadership, I believe, at this point to lay people. So I think St. John's has a lay head of their high school. Palote does. SCA has for a while. So yeah, we're seeing it in almost all of the schools where either nuns or priests were running the institutions. Rashan, did you only teach first farm, or did you get an opportunity to teach first, second, third, and fourth farm?
All farms. I was able to teach all farms, first to fourth farm, and all of the farms come with their different challenges. And working with young people, you would realize then that they are truly innately good. They want to do good. They want to be good. And we, as the adult, we are here to guide them and to mold them. And it's just to give them that little push. And research shows that it only takes one adult to believe in a child for them to become successful.
Indeed. I'm hoping some of our young people opt to be teachers and educators. We rarely find, and we do a lot of recruiting, and we're in recruitment period. We're forever recruiting, which is fine because that's what the office that I work with at Galen does. We're marketing and admissions. So we do a lot of recruiting, and wherever we go, students want to be lawyers, doctors, engineers, the rare few would say they want to be a teacher. And so I believe we have a little bit of a job on our hands to try and encourage more of our young people to go into education. As a female Claudette, working in an organization that has both male and female, have you had to deal with any kinds of perception errors, biases, stereotypes, being a female in a leadership role?
Yes, and especially in the construction industry, because like what you said, recently we have had more women venturing into architecture and engineering, and that is a good thing. However, it's still in its infancy, in Belize especially. So one of the biggest challenges is being recognized and understood, and just for your peers to know that you're competent, that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, and that you can get the job done. So I think that's one of the biggest biases, that as female, we are supposed to not be in the industry, and we are not strong enough or we don't know enough. So I think a lot of men still think that this is not the place for us. However, like I said, that has been changing. And the more females we have graduating as engineers, as architects, as administrative in the construction field, as project managers, technicians, and the whole gamut, that will slowly change because you realize that education is power, and with that power, you can make a valuable contribution to the industry.
Fantastic. Breaking glass ceilings, I think. This is what you are definitely doing in your industry. Have you had any aha moments where you've seen a male counterpart who probably didn't think you could do it, realize that, Claudette knows what she's doing?
I possibly, in my opinion, I would think so. They would not say so. Most of the times, men just, for whatever reason, would not acknowledge. But yes, sometimes you do have that moment when you realize that they perhaps come back to ask questions or to accept something that you contributed. And so for that split moment, you would say, okay, he's listening, or I made an impression, or I was able to impact whatever decision or choices. So yes, there are little moments. I can't think of a big moment at this time, but yes, that does happen.
It does happen. Yep. And I guess the work continues. It seems more of an uphill struggle than one would think at this time. In 2024, and still women are not, at least women in leadership roles and women being seen and accepted in the roles that we do so well in, as belonging there. So it's still a 28% globally. That's too low, still too low in this time and age, but the fight continues. Rashan, have you had any types of stereotypes that you've had to deal with being a layperson now taking on the role of what nuns have done for years within our academic system?
Definitely. Many leaders are predominantly female. So in terms of discrimination based on sex, not really. But I would say there would definitely be people who would compare and would say, well, the nuns didn't do it that way. So I would have to deal with that. And also, I realized that many people in leadership are of a certain age range. So I would say maybe age discrimination as well. I guess I'm still being considered as young and youthful. And you would have to get over or overcome that stereotype there. Because when we're younger, we're always told that, the youths or the children are the future, but having to come in and lead as a younger person or what is deemed as a younger person in educational leadership would be a major barrier to overcome.
Yep. So we do find the challenges, even in an institution where a female is leading only females. So if it's not because of gender, then it could definitely be for other reasons. But like I said, the work continues. Did you have a mentor who supported you, Rashan? I believe taking over Palote is a big deal. We've as it was when the lay principal took over SCA. You're taking over from generations or years of having sisters educate and run an institution. Did you have any mentors?
Yes, currently in my first year, we're calling it this transitional year because it's a major change, as you mentioned. And so I do have Sister Clara. She is still there mentoring me for this entire first year. We call it the transition phase. And it's several things that has to do, especially with the Palatine mission, the Palatine vision, and the Palatine spirituality. And also, just as since she has at least 19 years of experience of being a leader of Palote High School, she would be able to share her expertise with me because she has been there through whether it is deployment of teachers, hiring of teachers, dealing with parents, dealing with students. She has 19 years plus of experience in this area. So she is still there, and I would be able to speak to her and confide in her, and she's there working with me throughout this transitional year.
Fantastic. Kudos. Leadership can get lonely. It can get lonely up in those leadership roles. Claudette, who is your mentor? Do you have a mentor or two?
Um, in the earlier years, I would say that my dad was our mentor, but we have, because it's a family-owned business, we have done a lot through trial and error. So we have gained a lot of experiences and a lot of lessons learned through failure. I can't identify a mentor now. However, I can recall when I was at my undergrad university, I had my first job, my first real job. And I worked with the Alumni Association at my university. And my supervisor was Dr. Felicia Wilson. And I will never forget her because I was so impressed by her leadership style. She was very flexible, very accommodating, and she always tried to reinforce positively the good habits that we should learn as students. And so she was an older person, but with a lot of experience. And I still can draw on her attitude and just her overall mannerisms. And so I would like to say that earlier on, I always tried to imitate or listen to the advice that she gave because I appreciated her her style of leadership then.
Wonderful. Yep, and you've probably, those have probably become your style, or at least
Indeed.
worked into what makes Claudette the leader she is today. Fantastic. What is one lesson you learned that you want to share with young leaders? I'm sure there are young women out there taking on new leadership roles, aspiring to be new leaders. What is a lesson that you learned that you'd like to share with them?
I think that failure is not a bad thing. You have to go after whatever it is that you are passionate about. Enjoy, learn along the way. Like I said, failing is a good thing because when you fail, you learn what not to do and what you should do. And so I would just like to encourage leaders, young female leaders, to go after your dreams. Nothing is impossible. You just have to set your goals and work towards it. And don't be afraid to ask questions along the way. Don't be afraid to fail. A lot of that is a part of the learning process and growing, and that's how you gain your experience. So just to go after whatever desires you have, you know, there is no limit, and there is nothing that you can't do. You just need to like I said, set your goals and work towards it.
I love that. Yes, there's nothing that you can't do, and you need to set your goals, and it's so very important. And that's a message I try to get across to all the young people we encounter when we recruit for Gale University. That dream big. Don't let anybody tell you that your kids children tend to do this to their peers. Oh, listen to what you'll never be that. And I mean, for years that I've engaged with young people across this nation, I find that their peers would be the ones who would pull them down and let them believe they can't be all that they can or all that they want to be. And so that message is so important. Rashan, the same question I'd like to pose to you. What is one lesson that you've learned that you'd like to share with other young female leaders, upcoming female leaders?
Definitely, not to worry about the stereotypes or what society says you should achieve and by what age you should achieve this. And for them to not stop and answer or reply to every stereotype, because then they would never reach the end, right? I agree with Claudette to set goals, specific goals, and also assign a time, like make it time bound by when it should be happening and how to get into this leadership position that you want. Also to choose something that you are passionate about, something that you love to do, right? So if it's education, you pursue it wholeheartedly. If it's entrepreneurship, that's the area that you choose. So not to decide based on what anyone is suggesting, but do some self-reflection and think about what is it that I am called to do. They could even pray about it a bit, right? And they will be able to find that answer. What is it am I called to do in this lifetime? Also, in terms of leadership for especially young leaders, besides the formal education system whereby they would get their accreditation, I would say definitely identify a female leader in the area that she is interested in, because yes, we have all the books, all the assignments, the case studies, but nothing beats true experience whereby you're there already in the area. Maybe you're observing this leader, looking at some of the true life situations that may occur, because sometimes we have contingency whereby we'll have a situation, unique situation that has never shown up before, and we get this true experience. So find a female leader in their area that they could go and observe or even volunteer to be around that leader and get first-hand experience in the workplace before they do become that leader as well.
Yeah, wonderful advice. Definitely. Find somebody who you can learn from, who has the experience in the area that you're going to be working in. So, before we run out of time, we have some speed questions that we do with our Eagles when we have you on. It's for fun and to get to know you a little bit. So I want to, if I could start with you, Claudette. Harpy Eagles soar gracefully through the treetops. Would you rather soar high to see the big picture in all situations, or stay grounded to focus on details up close?
I would like to be in the middle so that I can decide when to soar or when I need to be grounded. I don't think that was an option.
No, that's your answer though. Rashan, would you like to answer that same question, please? Would you like me to repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Harpy Eagles soar gracefully through the treetops. Would you rather soar high to see the big picture in all situations, or stay grounded to focus on details up close?
I would definitely say grounded, because I am connecting it, just that I'm connecting it with humility and being able to, the details are important. And when we look back, it's not the big things that matter. It's actually the little things.
Okay, good. Like tell us, don't sweat.
The biggest.
Yeah. Uh, Well, don't
Well,
sweat
it's
the
a
small
small
stuff.
thing.
Won't work
Yes.
in this situation because we need to pay attention to the small stuff. So scrap that one. Harpy eagles are impressively powerful, Rashan, and can lift animals their own size. Would you rather have the strength to tackle the toughest challenges on your own, or the call to rally others to support you?
I would definitely go with the second option, and it has to do with your charismatic leadership style as well. Because if you are moving alone, then it will be very difficult to do. So rally others and getting them involved, delegating to get the work done.
That ties in with both your leadership styles.
Yes.
Claudette, or you would say the same?
I would say the same. And I agree because I think as a good leader knows when to delegate, how to delegate, and how to use and strategize to make sure that they achieve where they want to go. And when you're working as a team, there is not I or just you doing it alone. So definitely from the ground up and working with your team.
Wonderful. Claudette, would you rather, harpy eagles have sharp talons for quick action. Would you rather use talons to swoop in and handle emergencies, or keep a cool eagle's eye view to guide others?
I think it depends on the situation. Sometimes you just have to take the bull by the horn and make the decisions as the leader. And sometimes you do need to step back, assess the situation before you make a decision. So I think that depends on the situation.
It depends. Good. Rashan, would you rather use your talons to swoop in and handle emergencies, or keep a cool eagle's eye view to guide others?
I agree with Claudette. For this one, it would be discernment. In some scenarios, you would have to be assertive. And I remember this saying that some people say that many times leaders, all we do sometimes is out fire. So we don't want to be stuck in that lighter fight mode. So I would also at sometimes need to have that coolness too, to be able to look at everything and work out the situation as well.
Very good. Would you rather glide unnoticed through a busy day, or make a grand eagle-like entrance that everyone notices? Claudette?
I would think glide by unnoticed through the day.
Yeah.
Definitely. Sometimes you need to do that. You need to just go about doing what it is that you do and not looking for accolades or for recognition or accomplishments or the like.
Very good. I agree. Rashan, would you rather mentor a young eaglet step by step, or let them explore and learn more and learn from trial and error?
Definitely through trial and error, we learn through our own experiences and also as they observe us as well. Step by step would not work, because if there's a situation whereby they have never encountered that specific situation before, then they would be stuck. However, if they're able to learn these specific skills, they would be able to handle any situation that comes their way.
Okay. Claudette, would you rather have eagle eye vision to catch every small detail in a project, or super strength to power through any task?
That is a tough one for us because with projects, it's important to have eagle eyes because sometimes if you don't cross those T's and dot the I's, it can come at a cost, at a financial cost. So sometimes I think you need to really delve deep and try to cover all bases. And I forgot the other option, but I was thinking about that.
So it was have eagle eye vision to catch every small detail in a project or super strength to power through any task.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with my, yeah,
Yeah.
eagle eyes
Eagle eyes.
for small details.
Okay, very good, ladies. So, we have 4 minutes to the end of our show, and I want to give each of you an opportunity to give some last words of advice to young aspiring women who will eventually become leaders and who certainly can learn from your experience. Rashan, if you would like to give your last words, please. You have 30 seconds if you can.
Sure, I would inspire all females to become leaders and to know that your gender does not limit you as a leader. Actually, it could be a benefit. And to not worry about the stereotypes. You will be able, once you have acquired the skills, to be able to balance your work and also your life. And especially with the young ladies at my institution, that they could dream and be whatever they want to be as long as they set their mind to it. And remember to always put God first. Through Him, all things are possible.
I love it. Um, Congratulations again to you, Rashan, and I'm sure Paloti will grow and succeed under your leadership.
Thank you.
Claudette, Claudette, your last words to young women.
I would just like to encourage young women to go after their dreams, go after their goals. We live in a dynamic, changing working environment. There are challenges that will come with each generation, and so don't be afraid to learn something new. Don't be afraid to upskill, to go back to school, to learn a new trade, to learn a new profession. There are no limits. And getting an education is the way, is it is the key to reaching those goals and desires. So be visible, participate, and don't be afraid to fail.
Fantastic. So I want to thank you, Claudette, for joining us tonight and continued success in all you do. You are an exemplary eagle, and Galen is proud to have you as part of our eagle family. So you certainly are a good role model for many and women our age who think they can't go back to school. I always say, talk to Claudette and see why. So
Thank you.
it has been a fantastic discussion. I thank you for joining the Galen Hour tonight and hearing from our Lady Eagles who are in leadership roles. We hope we've inspired some of our young women and even young men who are listening in, because leadership is leadership, whether you're male or female, and it comes with the same challenges. The Galen Hour is every Wednesday night at the same time. So we look forward to you joining us next week, same place, same time, and prayers that our country remains safe with the weather that's approaching. I hope that it does not create any real damage or problems for us. With that, we bring the Galen Hour to a close, and I thank you for joining us and see you next week, Wednesday, for our next episode of the Galen Hour. Good night.